It's all about humanity.
Holy rap battle beef! This is Flight Check, Season 4, Episode 12. We're back, once again, talking all aspects of the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef. I mean, the FlyQuest organization. My name, as always, is Kendrick Lamar, Sandy Toes.
Oh gosh.
And to my left and my extra left are my fellow hosts, Knoxwar and Curly Double Q. We're out here surviving. Knox was affected so severely by FlyQuest's performance over the last few days that he had to
I became physically ill.
He became physically ill. Like, that's how bad it was.
Yeah.
You know, so pretty terrible. Yeah, long agonizing weekend of matches in MSI, culminating in an early exit, the earliest exit for a North American team from MSI. So just, yeah, painful all around. So we'll talk about it tonight. This is going to be a shorter show. There's frankly not a lot to discuss. Things got pretty disgusting pretty quickly. So I don't think we will be spending a lot of time lingering on things. Knox, we'll check in with you first. How are you feeling? I obviously, you know, your stomach bug was not due to the FlyQuest performance. It might as well have been, but how are you doing? When did this start? I think I missed that part.
About 3 a.m. last night. Just woke up in the middle of my sleep, and I was like, and I'm going to be in the bathroom.
Yeah, approximately 24 hours after the FlyQuest loss. Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, so it takes a little while to kick in. So,
Right.
No, it makes sense.
Knox unironically sounding like Inero right now, in my opinion. I don't know if anyone else feels that way. But
I don't know how my voice sounds over mic. I'll probably come back and listen to this later
deep.
on. But
It's. Do you have morning voice, like before you have your morning coffee?
yeah, so if I don't really talk for the whole day, this is like how deep my voice gets. And this is like not altered or anything. This is just normally how I sound. It almost kind of sounds nasally, but it's like not at the same time. It's kind of interesting.
Crazy. Well, hopefully you feel better soon. Curly, how about you? Any ill effects from the weekend's events?
I mean, I think I've just really been able to sleep it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all that stuff, and I'm just glad that this happened on like a Saturday night / Sunday morning where I'm used to staying up late anyways. And so, yeah. Oh man, it's a tough time to be a Fly fan right now.
Yeah.
Tough time, but also not, depending on which side of FlyQuest esports you're into.
Yeah. Not an easy weekend for League of Legends FlyQuest fans. I mean, let's just get into it.
Yeah.
So, things start out all right with a 2-1 over PSG Talon. Some would argue that it was pretty much like a 2.5 to 0.5, where pretty much should have been able to win all three of those games. And that one looked fairly okay. Like, I was impressed. I didn't feel like this was going to be a, okay, cool, now I feel good enough that we're going to take down T1. But things started out okay. And then the T1 series happened. And that was horrific. Knox, not to task you too much with talking tonight, but I do want to ask your impressions. Like, I feel like there was an overall arc for FlyQuest this tournament of like did pretty well, had some confidence, got blasted by T1, and then things were like just so shook, just mentally shook by that. Plus PSG adapting, and maybe some disrespect from FlyQuest towards PSG. I mean, that seems to me to be the arc that this tournament went. I mean, how do you feel about what's your overall impressions from your end?
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if like Masu and Busio are getting like kind of rocked and mentally shook and tilted off of like the match against T1, right? Like that's understandable. They're rookies. They've never like pro players from NA from years now have come on stage and just suddenly been like, oh man, it's a whole different level playing against teams like T1, right?
Right.
But so like for rookies, like you know what, I get it, it's fine. But this was literally Jensen's ninth and 10th time playing against Faker in T1, and then Bwipo has made Worlds Finals before, and Inspired has more than good enough to hold his own, even though I don't think he's like played a lot of high tier league and international.
Yeah.
So it's like those three I expect to be able to hold their ground. And the reality of the situation was it was complete opposite. I thought Masu after that series was the one who was actually still just holding his own the best that he could. I don't think Busio was playing all that well, but it was like mainly Inspired and Whippo who just completely lost it themselves. And
Right.
like that's just super disappointing. And that is on them, don't get me wrong, but like it's also on the coaching staff to be able to make sure, hey, are you guys feeling okay? Are you in a mentally good place? Are you going to be able to perform? So on and so forth. And I don't think Arrow and Nuke Duck were able to accomplish that whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, that tracks to me. Curly, are you on a similar page? What was your take on just the downfall of this team over the weekend?
It just really felt like we weren't able to come together in just any big sense. Like even like getting the first blood against T1, I would say we did it both games if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but like getting the first blood did nothing. And then like after that, it's just it felt like as we tried something new with this whole lane swap meta and all that stuff, or like trying to do some more creative drafts against T1, it just we weren't playing together like at all. Like everyone was kind of in their own thing. It was like honestly, it was kind of like one of the solo queue games I had today, where like like no one had the same game plan and everyone's flaming each other for being in like a different position.
Right.
And the biggest thing too is like you can kind of feel the effects of everything that happened before playoffs in terms of the drafting portion, because like Richard seems to have a major impact on the drafting we had during the season. There's a dramatic shift from when he was at part of the coaching staff and from when everything started with the investigation, him not, and like Arrow seemingly being promoted to draft coach. It's like it's a very different thing. So we just kind of not there.
Yeah. Yeah, Knox, I want to ask you about that because I know that was a big conversation. And I've got my opinion, but I want to hear from you. Like, are you on a similar page where like not having Richard around was enough to like maybe take this team down a peg or two? Like, is it really that significant of a difference?
You know, going into LCS finals, I thought, hey, this is going to be noticeable, right? Because it was right before finals. Like, that is a team morale-wise, that's not good. And B, like, he's one of your major strategy coaches, right? So
Right.
I got it. I understood. What I was really hoping would happen, though, is going into MSI, you have literally 4 weeks before your first match. And it's like, okay, hopefully they figure it out. They do their prep work. They do their strategies. They utilize their analysts, whatever it may be, right? And then I felt like the drafting itself was still somewhat okay, but like it was better than LCS finals, but it still wasn't the best.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, along with that, you have to consider the in-game strategies that were being used as well, the lane swaps, the jungle pathing that Inspired was choosing to do, so on and so forth, right? So I would say yes, I think it was still noticeable. I do think it was felt, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's still such a small portion of the reason why FlyQuest failed. It's still on the players at the end of the day to show up and perform. I think having a coach in that position would have helped. The odds of what happened would have been like less, but yeah. So no, I think it definitely affected them.
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, I'm on a similar page there where clearly there was something there, and I think you can see a noticeable change in performance after he got benched, removed, whatever. Finals, we didn't look like ourselves. Didn't look like ourselves at all against here in MSI. I mean, again, like I do want to point out like that first best of 3 was fairly solid. But like 2 incredibly fast games versus T1 where they just like completely blew us out. Wasn't even close. And I have to wonder how much of it was, not having someone in the camp that could find the problem points, point them out, fix them, offer a certain kind of a voice in the draft that would maybe bring something fresh, bring something different, or bring enough to make a real change, and just make things better all around. Yeah, I think it's hard to say because obviously, this is all hindsight and whatnot. But I definitely feel that something was lost, without Fantix. Richard. That, I think we just need in order to, succeed more in the future.
Going forward, something in the offseason I would like to see is for FlyQuest to pick up a new coach.
Yes.
Whether it be promotion of Rocco to the main team, or whether it be someone completely outside that's not hired right now. But
totally,
I don't think this roster can continue without someone who's actually going to help ground all the players. Because I mean, think back upon our interview with Nuke Duck and Richard, right?
Yeah.
I was looking through clips earlier today, and a lot of the way they said they were doing coaching was more of like a sounding board for the players. Like, hey, come bounce ideas off of me. I'm going to help guide your thoughts more than like tell you what needs to be done.
Right.
I think this tournament specifically, not necessarily LCS finals, because I think that was just like bad timing of everything that was happening outside of the Rift. But at least for this tournament, I think you really need to have someone there who's going to like look Inspired and Whippo in the eye, say, hey, shut the fuck up. You're going to do this and you're going to play like this.
Yeah.
And you're going to actually do okay because of it, right? Because clearly, like, normally the coaches have talked about this themselves, the players have talked about this themselves. Like, Inspired is the leader in game, right? He dictates the flow of the game. He dictates what he wants to do. And for the most of the part in LCS especially, it works fine. But clearly, very, very clearly, Inspired's I guess game plan or vision of how to play the game on this MSI tournament was not it. And I don't think there was anyone staff-wise or player-wise that was willing to stand up to him and tell him, you are fucking up, you're making the wrong decisions, take a back seat, follow this game plan.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what needed to happen. So that's what I hope. Not necessarily to happen throughout the rest of Summer Split, because I think especially in LCS, his game plans are fine. You can make it work in LCS. But the next time you go to International again, if Inspired's idea of how to play the game is not what it should be, I want someone on staff to be able to tell him to sit down, play it this way. That's what I'm hoping for.
No, I agree. Curly, how do you feel about everything that Nox just said?
I mean, yeah, I'm definitely of the belief that we need to figure out like something to fix with the coaching situation, because just the direction of FlyQuest seems to have changed or kind of really just derailed ever since everything happened around Richard.
Yeah.
And so I personally think one thing is you'd need someone who has a really good view on drafts to add to it, because I wouldn't want to have to shake up the whole coaching structure. I think that would really add more problems than it would solve. It would just be bring someone in to add to the team.
Right.
Right. Because I think the other thing too is that Arrow was supposed to be brought on as a positional coach for Mazu. So him having to worry about the whole team instead of just focusing on Mazu, I think has probably affected things as well. And so definitely need someone to bring in as a draft specialist and to kind of have more of a clear direction for the team. I think another thing too is we need to, our approach to like the next international tournament we do we need to assess, do we adapt and try to do this new meta that's popped up while we were in off season, or do we try to play our own game? Because I really think like the whole lane swap meta and our adaptation of it was actually horrendous. And I think we should have dropped it day one and never tried it ever again. Even though we did win that first series, you know? Because like the thing for me is that part of Team Liquid's success in playoffs is they found their own rhythm. They played the game the way they want to play, whereas we just kind of went with what we were doing or what we thought the meta was, and it was just wrong. Like we need to find our style and just perfect it, you know? Yeah. And so that's the same thing that happened here is we tried to do this lane swap thing because it's popped off, which number one, as a viewer, it is the most boring thing I've ever seen to watch because it's like so confusing. And why are 4 plates being taken at 3 minutes because everyone's stacked in the bot lane? Like this is shit League of Legends.
And it winds up just being like a handshake too, where like, okay, you get your plates, I'll get my plates, no big deal, you know?
Yeah, like it's very dumb. So like that's that problem. And then it's just like, for us, we didn't adopt it well. We are not, we shouldn't make ourselves slaves to a meta that doesn't work for us, you know?
Right.
So just if it doesn't work, like if you don't have profound success within the first, with a tournament this small, like this short, if you don't have profound success the first day you try a meta, never touch it again.
Yeah.
Do the thing you know and go back to it. Like if this was a whole split lawn, maybe we could try to perfect it over the course of a couple of weeks. We had 3 rounds. So
yeah. No, I'm with you. All right, so what I'm hearing and what I'm agreeing with is need to bring in a new coach to, you know, get things going again. I wonder, like, okay, there was a decent chunk of time in there between like beginning of playoffs and now. Could have brought someone in, you know, even if it's on a temporary basis, just for help, you know? And it's kind of disappointing to me that never wound up happening. So I think that is an issue that I don't think really anyone talked about ultimately. Now, there is a lot of discussion that I've seen, and this is from a far more reactionary crowd than maybe we would go on the show. But there are folks saying that they'll be shocked if these 5 players are together for summer. I see Curly's mad about this already. I just want to pulse y'all's opinions on this because it is a discussion that people are having. I am seeing a lot of commentary from folks, you know, and it's all the less knowledgeable folks in the scene. But, like, you know...
Reel it in there, Sandy.
Huh?
Reel it in there. I wouldn't call them less knowledgeable.
Well, it's the people who... Okay, fine. Not less knowledgeable, but it's like the people who are, like, reacting very strongly to a poor performance and saying, like, oh, you got to kick 3 out of 5 of these players, kick the top, kick the support, kick these EU trash players, kick these, you know, these guys don't care, you know, oh, they're all just paycheck stealers. It's the usual stuff that you hear whenever NA underperforms at a tournament, right? So I want to hear from you guys, like, okay, how much buy-in should we be giving to this, you know, to this idea that need to swap someone in or out? And if so, who? I think my answer is like no. You don't change this roster up. You maybe change the mentality up. You change the approach up because I don't think the approach worked. But yeah, I think definitely the roster should stay the same.
To make it simple and really sweet is last year when we switched out roster, when we were in a top performing team, summer didn't go well. Granted, lots of other circumstances going into it, but recent data shows if we make a roster swap over summer, we will hypothetically not even show up. Now, to reel it in and actually add some depth to it is like, I'm a firm belief. I've talked about it ever since we started the show. It's stuff that comes from being a Bills fan back in New York.
Yeah.
Having to deal with the Browns. Changing shit on like the fly doesn't fix problems. It just creates new ones. And so I really do think we just keep it locked in with this roster. I don't see any other player potentially like skyrocketing this like the quality of this team. I think it is just develop, especially because I don't know how long we have till the summer split comes back, but like we've got the longest time to take a break out of any other North American team, or like between us and TL. So plenty of time for this team to shake the dust off of what happened spring at MSI, get back on the Rift in a new fashion. So I would much rather see that, because especially it's like mid-season. Some things you need to grow over time, especially because like T1 last year, when they won Worlds, like they had some time without Faker and all that stuff, and like there were some doubts about the team and all that stuff, and they showed how the longevity of players that can work together and just giving them a good game plan will lead to success. So
yeah,
just keep it together, guys. And if you are also, it's been 2 days. If you're going to talk about roster swaps, at least let the tournament be done.
Oh, I was
please.
I was seeing
please.
I was seeing tournament. I was seeing roster discussion happen, 30 minutes after the games ended. So there's that. Knox, what about you? What's your take on this whole thing?
So Curly kind of covered it from like the vibes side of things, right? Not completely vibes, like obviously some logic in there too, but I wanted to look at it from like who's like, even if you did want to do roster swaps, who is available right now? Like who are you actually going to feasibly get in the middle of the season to like swap these players out?
Right.
And so, and I think the reality of it is like
Quid's available.
Wait, Quid or Quad?
Quad.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
But okay, so like looking at top lane, right? Like Bwipo is still probably the best top laner in LCS currently, and so like who are you going to find?
At least, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll give benefit of the doubt with someone else in the league, but like top two, like he's high performing, right?
Yeah.
Inspired is also like, I know a lot of people hate Inspired, right? He's very abrasive personality, but like gameplay wise, at least in the LCS, I know he was absolute garbage here on the international stage, but in the LCS, he dominates, right? He is a top 2 jungler in LCS too. He's going to be hard to replace. Jensen, I have my own thoughts on Jensen, but even then, looking at the available pool of mid laners that you can pull from, I think realistically, the only one you're going to pull from is Quad, who's on your FlyQuest Challengers team.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what people are thinking. Like, is he really truly ready for that? I mean, he looked good in Challengers, but I think it would be a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to pull Jensen after he didn't have a terrible tournament. I didn't think he had a good tournament, but he wasn't having a bad tournament by any means either.
Yeah.
Masu's obviously brand new, and you're really trying to grow him. And I thought he actually had for like what his expectations were, I thought he had a good tournament. And then you have Busio, who personally I thought had a bad tournament. I don't think he was good at all. And so you look around at supports and what's available. The first one that really comes to mind is Chime, also on the FlyQuest Challengers roster. But at the same time, I know Busio holds a lot of sway with a lot of the staff, especially Papa Smithy. That's kind of Papa Smithy's boy. Like, you really want to give him a year to like gel and try and get things together.
Well, for Busio, he also was like, wasn't he? He was first team All Pro, right?
He was first team All Pro
Yeah,
too.
so
So
like,
yeah.
he's a good player. It's, he had a bad finals and he had a bad MSI. I mean, I believe this was his first international tournament as well, right? So like,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's obviously room to continue to grow and develop, right? I,
right.
I would I would say I was hoping for a little more, even as a sophomore. I was
Yeah.
hoping he'd show a little more than he did, but there's room for him to still grow, right? At the end of the day, I don't think unless you're gonna pull a knee jerk reaction, and I think the only two that you can viably replace are Jensen and Busio, but even
Hmm.
then I don't think that does the team any good.
Right.
You're like having to relearn jungle support uh ability to mesh together, and then on top of that mid jungle ability to support. And maybe, and who knows, maybe that's something Inspired wants, and that's something that may happen behind the scenes because maybe he just doesn't vibe with them. Which I mean, based off how the MSI play, that's kind of how it looked, right? They did not look in sync whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I have to have faith in the fact that hey, over a whole course or whole split of playing together, you guys kind of understand how you want to play with one another, and
Right.
you should just go into summer really solidify that, and next time you hit the international stage, like just don't lose it. That's
Right.
that's all I'm hoping for.
Right. 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 Yeah. No, I think I'm in complete agreement with you guys. I think making a knee jerk roster move, I think would just set the team back more so than anything else. It's not going to. Um, I don't think it immediately improves the team. I think, clearly this was a team that, made their way to grand finals for LCS, finished top two. Um, but I think, there were a lot of learning curves to be had in, this MSI. You had a bot lane who, still very new to international play. And I also think it, much more so than like roster issues, I just still think that the mentality was the problem, the attitude was the problem for this team. Felt like there was too much looking ahead towards bracket stage and not enough looking at PSG talent right in front of them. Um, so yeah, I just think making a roster move now would be. I think it'd be similar to last year, like you said, Curly, where it probably would end up hurting us more than helping at this point. Last year, it was a weird. It was like, okay, we're bringing in Vulcan to, try to level up and like make things better. But the fact of the matter was that team, that spring team, took third and probably would have done just fine going into summer. If you establish like who the actual support was last year, you actually pick between Winsome and Ayla, you probably go Winsome, right? Because he was performing better. And that team last year, probably, goes top four, maybe, makes it to Worlds, instead of cratering out at ninth. So I would just be very concerned about making a roster move at this point. I just think it would create more potential issues than solve any issues that are currently there. And I still think that the T1 series did serious damage to this team's ability to focus, concentrate, have good mental going into the PSG series. Like when you get beat up like that, it's hard to have confidence in your own abilities moving forward. You might have just beaten this PSG team, 2 days ago in a 2-1 that was like probably in that like 60-40 range of a 2-1, right? Where like, we were probably favored the whole time. Probably we're going to be, we were in the driver's seat most of the series. Um, but all it takes is like some bad mental from a pretty terrible beatdown by this T1 team to make you rethink, well, shoot, we don't know anything. Like we just got absolutely obliterated by this team. Like, and then when you have a confidence issue like that, it carries into your next series. The moment, like the negative momentum, it's a real thing. And you might play worse. You might play more desperately. You might like look for fights or take things that you normally would avoid. And again, for me, that comes all the way back to, a coaching issue where if you're not able to get your guys together, have them refocus, say like, hey, yes, we just got beat bad. We got to move forward. We got to step, take another step. And so I think that just comes down to you need to bring in some leadership that is able to say that, have those difficult conversations, and challenge this team to step it up after a difficult 2-0 like that T1 series was. All right. Anything else for us to say about this tournament? I mean, good luck to Team Liquid.
I figured we could do our little predictions for what we think this week will look like, and then maybe CS team real quick.
Who's TL facing?
Top Esports.
0-2. Sorry, guys.
Best of 5.
Oh, my bad. 0-3.
I'll say it's probably a 3-1.
You think? Sorry, I'm gonna admit a little bit of bias here. I'm pretty salty with certain other individuals in the LCS scene, for, I don't know, shitting on a team that just lost that's part of your region, the second they lose, namely Cloud9, LOL, Twitter, and a certain mid laner who yaps for a profession. Like, thanks guys, your only other rep just dipped out. Way to kick them all down. You're so cool for that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Like in domestic stuff, shit talking fine. Once you're on the international stage, buddy, we're all together. Yeah. I think that's my personal opinion on it.
Right.
So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I hear it. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Yeah,
I was gonna leave it at I got 0-3s across the board except for T1 versus G2, which I think will be T1 winning 3-1.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be a short week.
Genji 3-0, BLG 3-0.
Top 3-0.
I think it'll be T1 3-1 and then top 3-1. I think that'll be about it.
Yeah, I think it'll be a quick week.
Yeah, it'll be not a very entertaining series of games.
Round 2 of the bracket stage, however, should be spicy.
Yeah, I mean that'll be fun.
Theoretically, you're getting a Fnatic versus Team Liquid, which that's actually very hype.
Bro, dude, I would love that actually. I'm very excited to see like Jan and Core JJ versus was it Noah and Jun. I would like to see that. Also, the one person I am hoping actually performs well is Umpty. He earned my respect very much during playoffs, and I want him to keep like running with that,
Mm-hmm. All right. So, unfortunately, Liquipedia has not updated certain stuff from the ESL Pro League, but let's talk FlyQuest Counter-Strike.
Oh, no. HLTV. HLTV is where you should go for that.
Okay.
I can even hypothetically drop a link to exactly what I'm looking at if you just wait a few seconds.
Yeah, please do.
So yeah, on to greener pastures. FlyQuest CS.
The boys. Real brief here. Was unable to watch a lot of their stuff, but they did make it to playoffs. The playoffs bracket is set, taking on BB Bet Boom, and the winner of that takes on Team Liquid. So that's going to be a toughie. That's tomorrow at 10:15. I don't know if that's EST or not. Oh, I see this link you have sent me. Thank you. I'm pulling up. I should have pulled.
So that's
this all up
specifically for the
earlier.
first map. No, it's all right. It's all right.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, no, please talk about it, Curly, if you've got something to go.
Well, so yeah, so to get right off the bat is first off, Leo, the stats guy for the LCS, is blessed with propheticness, prophecy, the powers of prophecy.
Yeah.
Because the morning of both FlyQuest CS and FlyQuest League playing, he said it was going to be 2-0 for one and 0-2 for the other, and he was not going to elaborate on which.
Yeah.
And he was 100% correct. So yeah, a pretty dominant showing against Ninjas in Pajamas, with, like it said, 2-0, going 13-7 on the first map, and which is Ancient, and 13-6 on the second match, which was Vertigo. So really good showing. Yeah, the boys.
And
this
making
Aussie
it through
team
this like last chance stage too, like fell down to lower bracket after 0-2ing to Not a Sincere, then beats Boss, loses to Heroic 0-2, but takes down Para and NIP to make it all the way to single elimination bracket. Sorry if you're hearing sirens outside. There's some loud sirens outside my window right now. But yeah, tomorrow 10:15 EST, FlyQuest taking on Bet Boom. So that'll be fantastic. Winner takes on Liquid. It's single elimination, unfortunately, so there's no double elimination. But I hope the boys are enjoying being out in Malta right now. I'm sure that is a great time. But top 12 in this 32 team tournament is really great. And then the other big thing I saw was that they were ranked up to 20th worldwide, cracking the top 20 list, and a lot of folks saying that they should be even higher, which is really great. So that's pretty exciting. So that's 10:15 tomorrow. Best of 3 versus Bet Boom. Hang on one moment. Yeah, so just versus Bet Boom. So we'll see how that goes. Curly, anyone in particular stand out to you from
Well, if you look at these stats, dude, INS is freaking he's on top of things, because in both matches he is like has the leading performance rating. And it's like 1.49 to 1.76 respectively.
Right.
And he did most damage in both games. Like he has it on lock. He seems to be our point guard. I'll need to like actually catch a series at God knows what time AM. But the stats, like, you don't need to see the game to see that this guy is performing.
Should be 9 AM for you. That's not too terrible. It's pretty
That's
reasonable.
my sleep time with my current schedule, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Well,
but we'll try to hack it through.
That's your problem.
It is my problem, and I have to deal with it. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, another thing aside from players though is something I notice in both of these is like we're really good at carrying momentum from the first round, because like we do phenomenally in the second half both times. Because like with Ancient, we just like, even though we dropped the first 2 rounds, we won the next 6 in a row, just like not giving them another shot. And then we just had one hiccup on the second map. So like, if we're ahead at the, I hope that trend continues, where if we're ahead at the side swap, we just dominate the other half. Because that's definitely something you want in this kind of FPS.
For sure. Nox, do you plan on tuning in tomorrow for this Counter-Strike matchup?
If I'm not dying, yes. Yeah, I will. I need a good dose of FlyQuest content that can at least be maybe not a little bit depressing. And it sounds like this matchup can be kind of fun at least,
Yeah.
even if we don't end up winning. So
Right.
yeah, no, I'll be tuning in when I get the second, or if I'm able to.
It could very much provide what we're looking for. Yeah, BetBoom, looking at their how they did. They beat M80, then lost to Vitality, then beat Falcons and beat M80 again to make it through lower bracket in Group B. So they did a little bit better. They did not have to go through the last chance stage. So I have a feeling that probably we are not favored in this matchup. But yeah, will be interesting to see how that goes. That's 10:15 tomorrow. I'm sure all three of us will be watching that because that's about the only FlyQuest thing that's going on right now, which is, deeply unfortunate. But, hey, that's it is what it is. So, but it is FlyQuest, it is esports, and we'll be happy to watch it.
Someone get Basil to just produce a mass amount of FlyQuest content, please.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we need. In our hour of need, she can come through. All right, I believe that's basically it. Like we said, shorter show tonight. Not a ton to talk about that isn't depressing. So I'm just gonna turn it over to Curly real quick. Curly, any shout outs or plugs before I give the final spiel of the night?
So my two biggest shout outs are, number one, shout out to the one, the only Road Roller for please hold. Oh,
Holding.
no, my curly hair. Anyway, for the
Nice
best
shorts.
boy that I have ever got. Like, dude, look at this. This is pure serotonin right here.
Yeah.
Like, part of me wishes this could have arrived yesterday so that I could have like gotten over everything with FlyQuest. But this Eevee is the cure for my depression. If you are suffering from your team getting knocked out of an international tournament, just get a giant cuddly Pokemon and everything will be great.
Right.
And then shout out number two is to specifically Jeremy Swayman, the goaltender for the Boston Bruins, but the Bruins as a whole, for finally clinching Game 7 at home on Saturday night in overtime. That was it was more stressful than it should have been, but Jeremy Swayman might just be one of the best goaltenders I've ever seen. He put his whole entire being into defending that net. Even had a player rocked into his knees, and it was a very funny thing. He got, the net was derailed, everything, all that. But yeah, no, he is on top of it. And as long as he keeps blocking the net, the Bruins could go all the way. So yeah, shout out to those.
Nice. Love it. Knox, how about you? What's your shout outs and plugs for the evening?
You know what? Also in the hockey vein, we'll be a hockey stream for a second. Shout out to the Dallas Stars for beating the Las Vegas Knights and taking them out after all the shenanigans that they were doing. So it feels good to see the Dallas Stars beat them, especially after, what was it, last year or 2 years ago, where they lost to them also in a Game 7. So that feels pretty
especially
good.
The Golden Knights, dude, taking them down. Whew.
Yep. I also, Curly, I thought you were gonna say, instead of get yourself an Eevee, I thought you were gonna say get yourself a Road Roller, and I was like, you know what? I agree with that. Get yourself a Road Roller.
Actually get you a Road Roller. I mean, it will make exploring California way easier if you get yourself a roller.
True. Yeah, best tour guide. According to Curly, anyway, best tour guide you could ask for in California. Other shout out I'll do is, hey, just because FlyQuest is no longer in MSI does not mean that we're done with MSI Pick'ems in the FlyQuest Discord. So, if you would like, I'm going to send a ping out here in a second, a reminder, but for anyone who's listening who hasn't submitted their picks yet, please go ahead and do so, because you could still end up winning the MSI FlyQuest jersey, which is still a really freaking dope jersey. So even though it's got bad associations now, you still got sick merch, and you should really get some sick merch. So that'll be my one shout out. Or second shout out.
Merch. I'll follow along on the team's thing. The Nationals continue to hover around 500, which is far better than anything that they've done in the last couple years. So that's pretty big. Other than that, nothing crazy. I can't even come up with anything else. Shout out to the Kendrick and Drake beef. It's been absolutely wild. These songs are.
Oh my goodness.
The Kendrick songs have been insane. Drake.
I like casually getting caught up on that with my TikTok, because cannot be asked to listen to all of those songs, because diss tracks, while I think they're cool, just not my cup of tea for
Right.
listening. But hearing what's being thrown down, woo,
Yeah.
woo.
No, that's pretty good. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning into this episode of Flight Check. MSI keeps on rolling, and we'll keep talking about it. FlyQuest Counter-Strike, big matchup tomorrow. Make sure to watch that 10 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be there for sure. You can follow us on Twitter for all of our reactions and thoughts, such as the depressing ones when FlyQuest gets beat 2-0 by PSG Talent. You can see the show at Flight Check Crew, myself at Santos DB, Nox at Noxwar with 2 R's, and Curly at Curly_QQ_. Make sure to hop into the Discord as well. All kinds of esports discussion and otherwise taking place. And if you missed any part of this episode, the VOD will be up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow morning. If you're watching that and would like to catch the show live, we broadcast the episode usually every Monday night, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at twitch.tv/FlightCheckCrew. That's all we got. We'll be back next week to talk about something. Not sure what yet, but we'll find something. So for now, I'll just say stay safe out there. Bite your teeth. Don't forget to hit the head on the nail. And we'll see you all very, very soon. Adios, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace, y'all.
Are we free? Do we watch our lives go by? Do you see